Okay, today we're going to do a quick recap of the axial skeleton. We're going to go over a few groups of bones that I did not include on your axial skeleton quiz. They will be on your next quiz on Tuesday. They are part of your axial skeleton, but the majority of your quiz will be the appendicular skeleton. So let's quickly go over your axial skeleton. And let's count up the bones that we've done so far. All right. So I'm going to say the bone. I'm going to try to describe the bone. Let's do that. And you guys as a class, if you can, hopefully you can, tell me which bone I'm describing, okay? You'll get the hang of it. Here we go. Forehead. How many? Top of the crown of your skull. Parietal. How many? Good. The sides of your skull. How many? The posterior of your skull. Correct. How many? Good. The floor of your brain case. Sphenoid. How many? One. All right, this one's hard to describe. It's in your brain case. It's behind your eyes. Ethmoid. How many? One. Okay, so those are your cranium where your brain lives. Now let's do your face. The bones that are in your orbitals, which are your eye sockets, near your tear ducts. Lacrimal. How many? Two. How about the bridge of the nose? Okay. How about your cheekbones? Hold on. All right, nasal. What's that bone that's the bottom of your nasal septum where you separates your left and right nostril? Vomer. How many? One. All right, this one's tough to describe. The two bones that are on the lower part of your nose, they're on both sides of your nose. It's kind of where cartilage attaches to. Big name. Inferior. Nasal. Concave. How many? Two. Your cheekbones. How many? Two. Your top jaw. I'm only hearing a few voices. Come on, guys. This is a review. Your lower jaw, the only movable bone in your skull. And there's one more pair that we're missing. Oh, excuse me. That is one. It's the second time I've done that today. What's the last pair we're missing? Palatine. How many? Two. I think that's it. So let's count them up. 3, 5. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Perfect. That is the total for your skull. Awesome. All right. Let's do your spine. What are your neck vertebrae called? No. I get where you say that. All of them, not just the first two. All of them. They're all your cervical. The atlas and axis are the first two in your neck, but your entire neck, look at me, from here to here. Those are how many? 7 vertebrae. Do you know how many cervical vertebrae a giraffe has? 7. The same number of neck bones as you do. They're just bigger. I'll say that again. A giraffe, longest neck in nature, has 7 cervical vertebrae, just like you. They're just bigger. So you have your cervical vertebrae. How many are there one more time? 7. What's that? What's below your cervical vertebrae, your mid-back? How many do you have? What bones originate from your thoracic vertebrae and wrap around your body? I did not. That's part of your axial skeleton. I did not include that. It's my bad. We will do those today, and they'll be on your quiz Tuesday. Okay. What's below your thoracic? Your lower back. Lumbar. How many? 5. All right. What is the posterior of your pelvis? Actually, let me rephrase that. It's where your pelvis attaches to your spine. Sacrum. How many? 1. And what's your tailbone? Coccyx. 1. That should be 26. All right, now let's do your rib cage. I did not put this on your quiz. It will be on your Tuesday's quiz. This is technically part of your axial skeleton. What is this? Your breastbone right here, your sternum. Now, your sternum is technically one bone. It is 3 parts fused together. We'll go over those parts when we go in depth. So your sternum is one bone. Now, if you have 12 thoracic vertebrae, 2 ribs per vertebrae, how many total ribs do you have? 24. Well, you have 3 types of ribs. You have true ribs, and those are going to be pairs 1 through 7. So if I say it is pairs 1 through 7, how many total ribs is that? 14. Then you have false ribs. And that's going to be pairs 8 through 12. That's 5 pairs. What's 5 times 2? 10. Now, of those false ribs, the last 4, the last 2 pairs, pairs 11 and pair 12, are called floating ribs. I'll show you those today. All right, so that's going to be a total of 25. And then we have one more special little bone. It's called your hyoid. It's only one. I'm going to turn on the camera here for a minute so I can show everyone who's watching this video at home. So let's see if I can figure this out. Start video. Perfect. Right there. Let's see. Get down. Hold on. All right. Hello. Let's see if I can show everybody this. All right. Kind of crooked because my podium's at an angle. Whoops. All right. This bone right here is your hyoid bone. Right there. I'll show you all here. This is the only bone in your entire skeleton that does not touch another bone. When another bone touches another bone, we call it an articulation. For example, your humerus articulates with your shoulder. Your radius and ulna articulates with your humerus. Your phalanges articulate with your metacarpals. This hyoid bone doesn't touch anything. So you might be wondering, well, what's holding on to it? Cartilage. It protects your voice box, your larynx. When people have been found murdered and this is broken, what's the leading way that they may have died is strangulation or choked to death. So that is the hyoid. Does not articulate, is the only bone in your entire skeleton that does not articulate with another bone. And the word articulate means to not touch or not form a joint. Okay. So now that we have all that, let's do a grand total. Get out your calculator. And let's see what we have. We have, hold on. Uh, 22 plus 26 plus 25 plus 1. Oh, I forgot some. My fault. Your ear bones. Almost forgot them. They're called ossicles. Do you remember what they are? Malleus, incus, and the stapes. Stapes, whatever. That's going to be a total of 6. So 74 plus 6, and even 80. Your axial skeleton has 80 bones. So today, with your other part of your skeleton, we're going to do another 126. You ready? Let's do it. Today is going to be mostly your appendicular skeleton. This is what the majority of your next quiz will cover. It will cover all of the appendicular skeleton, and then the rib cage and your hyoid. Your appendicular skeleton has 2 parts. Your pectoral girdle and your pelvic girdle. Your pectoral girdle includes your shoulders, arms, wrists, hands, and fingers. Your pelvic girdle includes your pelvis, your legs, your ankles, your feet, and your toes. We will be going over all of those today. Give me a moment to write those down. We'll quickly go over the rib cage. I'll show you the hyoid once again, and then that will move us into the appendicular. All right, let's talk about the rib cage because that's technically part of your axial skeleton. Here it is. Your rib cage basically has two types of bones. First, we have your sternum. Now, your sternum is going to be one bone. So I'm going to put one in parentheses, one bone. But maybe I might make an extra credit question. What are the three parts of the sternum? Well, here they are. The top or the head of the sternum is called the manubrium. The middle of the sternum is called the body. And the bottom of the sternum is called the xiphoid process, the xiphoid with an X. Now, it would behoove me to tell you all that next week when we start to go over specific parts of bones, that you see this word process right here. This is going to be really important. The word process means a bony projection. I'm going to put the camera back on again, and I'm going to hold the skull up here so people at home can see this. Let's make this big. Maybe not. All right. So look at me. I'm trying to fit this in the camera. These things right here, these are called processes. This is called a process. Let's see. Where's another process? There's a part of your vertebrae that's a process, but namely when we talk about the skeleton, little projections, things that stick out like that are called processes. You have a xiphoid process. These are called your mastoid processes on your skull. You'll learn several others. Now, there is a condition I bet a lot of you have seen. I grew up with a kid in high school who had it really bad. Someone in here might have it. It's called Pectus Excavatum. When you hear pectus, what part of your body does it sound like it's referring to? Your chest. And when you're excavatum, if I was going to excavate a grave, what am I doing? Kind of digging it up. Well, Pectus excavatum is a condition where you have a deformed or I guess more so deformed sternum or rib cage. It's in males and females. You can get it corrected, but it does require surgery. Have any of you ever seen somebody with Pectus excavatum? Okay. It is in males and females, and it can be corrected. The kid that I went to high school with probably looks like he looked like that. Yes. Yeah, it's his sternum. I knew a girl that had it, and she had no xiphoid process. The third part of your sternum, not there. So her chest kind of just caved in. All right. So a lot of people, like you guys may know someone, or you've at least seen someone that's had it. Okay, so your sternum. That blue stuff, by the way, is cartilage. Just like you see up on the skeleton here, that clear stuff, that's cartilage. That's how your ribs connect your sternum. Without the cartilage, you wouldn't be able to take a big, deep breath because your bones wouldn't be able to expand, your rib cage. But thanks to that cartilage, you can. Now, let's talk about which ribs are which. We have rib pairs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. pairs 1 through 7 are called true ribs. The reason they're called true ribs is thanks to the cartilage. They all have their own cartilage connecting directly to the sternum. Rib pairs 8 through 12 are called false ribs. Notice that they all share the same cartilage connecting to the bottom of the body of the sternum. And then look very closely right here. You see these ribs here, 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 and here. Are they connected to the sternum? They are not. We call those floating ribs. You have 2 pairs, your final 2 pairs, pairs 11 and 12. They are floating ribs. In extreme cases of plastic surgery, you know, or if anybody ever watched Botched on E, there's some women that walk in trying to look like a Barbie doll where she has like a -20 waist. They'll go somewhere that'll remove those ribs. It can actually make you skinnier, but it's not a good thing. Those ribs are there for a reason. But those ribs don't attach to anything. They're not connected to your sternum, which is why they're titled floating ribs. They are a type of false rib. Now remember, that is part of your axial skeleton. It's part of your, it's connected to your spine. Okay. Everybody okay to move on? Let's check out your hyoid bone. Your hyoid bone is the only bone that does not attach to another bone. I shouldn't say attach. It does not articulate with another bone. It's suspended by cartilage in front of your voice box. And if you found a body and it was broken, that's a very good sign that they were strangled to death. If there's bruises on their neck and they have a broken hyoid bone, that's kind of like red flag. There might be choking and strangled person. Here's this location. It's trying to protect your larynx, which is just below it. So it's between your mandible and your larynx. Okay. All right. You guys ready for the appendicular? Arms and legs? Let's do it. All right. So let's start with this skeleton here, or this arm. This is your pectoral girdle. And let's start with this big bone. It's shaped kind of like a triangle. This is, the common name is your shoulder blade. Do you know the actual name? Anyone? Sloan? Hannah? It is called your scapula. There are 2 of them, 1 for each shoulder. Next one, my dad broke when he was in college. It kept him from being drafted into Vietnam. It's commonly called your collarbone. You know what the true name is? Your clavicle. You have 2 of them, 1 for each shoulder. And then your upper arm bone. Ha 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 ha. Humorous. Well, when you bang your arm, you hit a nerve right in your elbow. Funny bone. It's like, ooh, and everybody, it's right, it's connected. Yeah. These 3 bones make up the shoulder. That's why I included this image here. These 3 bones form the shoulder joint. Now, I want to tell you guys the difference between a dislocated shoulder and a torn shoulder. Has anyone ever dislocated their shoulder? I have. Has anyone ever torn their shoulder? Okay, here's the difference. If you look at my dummy up here, this is your humerus. This socket, which you'll learn later, is called a ball and socket joint. It fits in like a ball. My fist is a ball. Here's the socket, kind of plugs in. When this pops out, like that's dislocated. That can be popped in. It's going to hurt a lot, but you can pop it back in. A torn shoulder is where the ligaments or the tendons that are holding it together here at this joint or here at this joint have torn. There's 3 degrees of tear, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Grade 3 is really bad, like completely torn in half. But if you tear it, you're likely going to have surgery depending how bad the tear is. But a dislocation just means that the shoulder popped out, pop it back in. But these three bones, scapula, clavicle, and humerus, they form the shoulder joint. Okay, let's go down to your forearm. You have two bones in your forearm between your elbow and your wrist. Now, there's one on your pinky side, there's one on your thumb side. Now, I'm going to teach you what my professor taught me when I took this in college to help me remember which one's which. You have your thumb and the forearm bone that's on your thumb side. Your thumb is the antenna to the radio, or the antenna to the radius. Your thumb side is your radius. And you have two of those, one for each arm. Your pinky side is your ulna. And that is also going to be two. Now, if I asked you which of those bones actually has your elbow, it's your ulna. Your ulna has your elbow. If I can show you my guy right here, take a look at his arm. Here it is. That's the elbow. It's on your ulna. Here's your radius. Look at this. There's no elbow there. But here, there it is. This is called a hinge joint, like a door hinge. Your elbow and your knee is a hinge joint. Your hip and your shoulder is a ball and socket joint. All right, well, let's go over to a couple hands and figure this one out. Okay, let's see if you guys can tell me. Which forearm bone are those? How do you know? They're on the thumb side. Okay, good. Let's talk about these bones. These are your wrist bones. Anybody know what they're called? They are called carpals. You heard of carpal tunnel syndrome? You have 8 in each wrist. So how many total? 16. Good. Next, you have your hand bones. 5 in your left, 5 in your right. What are these called? Metacarpals. You have 5 in each hand, so how many total? 10. And the rest of these, what are these called? They're called phalanges. Now look carefully. You can look at your own hands. I like to tell my anatomy students, your bodies is your cheat sheet. If you were doing this with your hand on your test, I'm not going to stop you. You're like, okay, look at me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 14. You have 3 phalanges in your pinky finger, your ring finger, your middle finger, and your index finger, and you have 2 in your thumb. That's a total of 14 per hand, 28 total for your hands. Okay, and that is it for your pectoral girdle. So let's put them on the list. Let's come over here, start a new list. Whoops. Appendicular. All right, we have scapula, how many? 2. We have clavicle, how many? 2. We have radius, how many? Oh, I skipped one, didn't I? Humerus, how many? Ulna, how many? Carpals, 16, 8 in each wrist. Metacarpals, how many? 10. And phalanges, how many? 28. 28 finger phalanges, all right? Let's add those up. 28 plus 10 plus 16 plus 10. We have 64. 64 bones in your pectoral girdle. Okay, let's do your pelvic girdle, and that will be it. Here it is. Your pelvic girdle is going to start with your pelvis. Now, can any of you tell me what is this bone here? It's technically not part of your pelvis. What is that? That's your sacrum, and below that would be your coccyx. Your sacrum is technically not part of your pelvis. It is where your pelvis attaches to. Your pelvis, everyone, is 2 bones. However, it's kind of like your sternum, where it has fused parts. Perhaps I might make this extra credit. They are color-coded, but I want to make this very clear to all of you. Your pelvis is considered 2 bones, but it is 3 bones on each side fused together, but we're going to call it 2 bones. Now, here are the parts. Just like your sternum was the meningeum, the body, the xiphoid process, the wings of your pelvis, which you can actually touch, put your hands on your hips, you feel them. This is called your ilium. Your butt bones, if you were to sit on your butt, these are the bones that are on your butt, ischium. And the bones in the front near your reproductive organs, the pubis bones. You have 1 of each on each side. Try to hold up my lovely assistant here. And we have a dislocated shoulder. I'll fix that a little later. This is the ilium. This is the ischium. This is the pubis. Right at the pubis, there is a piece of cartilage. This is called the pubic symphysis. It allows for some mild stretching when women are giving birth. Sometimes it can be torn. Speaking of which, you can tell the gender of a person by looking at their pelvis. Have you ever heard the expression childbearing hips? Women typically have broader hips for childbearing. This pelvis right here, that's a male. It's narrower. Females tend to have, it's also taller. Females tend to have shorter pelvises and broader pelvises. Males tend to have taller pelvises and more narrow pelvises. All right, let's go up to the legs. This is your largest bone in your body, your thigh bones. Anyone know what they're called? Your femurs. Your legs have something that your arms don't. They have kneecaps. These kneecaps are called patella bones. Next, you have 2 shin bones, lower leg bones. The larger of the 2 is called your tibia. That's the big one in your lower leg. The skinny one in your lower leg is called your fibula. And I want to make sure my students are very aware of something here. I want you to take a look at this skeleton. Those skinny bones, the fibula, are they in the medial surface or the medial side or the lateral side of your lower legs? Lateral means the outside. Very good. Medial means the inside. If someone were to break their leg, you would say, you know, so-and-so broke their tib fib. They broke their tibia and their fibula. Long time ago, I was in high school, and I was watching Fox NFL Sunday, watching the Bucs game, and Terry Bradshaw said, yeah, he broke his tibula. And they're all saying, he broke his what? His tibula. Like, there's no such thing as a tibula. So I don't want to hear everyone in here say, you have your tibula and your fibula. It's tibia and fibula. All right. And then lastly, let's look at the foot. What do you call your ankle bones? They're called tarsals. You have 7 in each bone or each foot, so that's 14 total. You have 8 carpals in each wrist. You have 7 tarsals in each ankle. These bones are your metatarsals. You have 1 for each toe, 10 total. And then these bones are your phalanges. Same number in your feet, so you have 28. I want you guys to look at the phalanges for a moment. How many phalanges are in your big toe? 2. How many phalanges are in the rest of the toes? 3, just like your hands. If we have time, I want to show you the foot of an orangutan, one of our closest relatives, a great ape like us. They still live in the trees, so their feet are still evolved for grasping. It is hard to tell the difference between an orangutan hand and an orangutan foot. The reason why our feet are not like that anymore is because we evolved to walk on our feet. So our toes shortened up to help balance our weird bodies. The only thing your toes can really do now is like pick up your clothes when you get home. You pick them up with your feet, you throw them in the air, and you grab them in midair. Pretty cool trick. That's about all they're good for. All right. So let's add these to the list and do our final count. We have your pelvic girdle. Pelvis, how many bones? 2. Femur, how many? Patella, your kneecap. Your tibia, your large shin bone. Your fibula, your skinny one. Your tarsals, your ankle bones. Your metatarsals, your foot bones. And your phalanges, your toe bones. All right, let's add those up. 28 plus 10 plus 14 plus 10. 62. Okay, everyone. What is 64 plus 62? 126. What is 126 plus 1, or excuse me, plus 80? 200. Oh, hello. 206. The grand total of your body. So your appendicular skeleton has more bones than your axial skeleton does. Now, as promised, before we finish up, I do want to show you real quick an orangutan foot. See if I can find that. And I want you just to see, maybe I could pull up their bones too. I want you to see for yourself how their hands and feet are very hard to tell apart. Orangutan foot. Oh yeah. Look at that. Look how long those toes are. Those are toes. Because they still climb trees. They have the same number of phalanges as you do. They're just longer.